Hello and welcome back to Catch and Cook California. I'm Kevin. Today's video is all about sustainable seaweed foraging and what to do with your eels when you catch them. And this video is brought to you by Fire Maple, the company that made the outdoor stove I'll be using. Let's go do this. Rocky intertidal foraging and poke bowling. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you've seen me guiding and teaching people how to catch eels in the intertidal zone. This is something that I really focus on when I do my guided rocky intertidal forays, and it is a tremendous amount of fun. I can't tell you how many people have come out with me and caught their very first fish, which in these cases is an eel. I always teach you how to process them, but I often get the question, what do I do with it once I've processed it? This video, we're going to talk about that and seaweed. Now, in order to talk about sustainable seaweed foraging, I first need to start with areas that are not sustainable. So, from Sonoma Coast north along the California coast, the rocky intertidal is overrun with purple sea urchins that are acting like an invasive species. This is Strongylocentrotus purpuratus. I've seen these personally showing up in the archaeological record going back at least 4,000 years in California, and they go back quite a bit further than that. These are native, but acting like an invasive now that their native keystone predator has gone locally extinct. We're talking about the sunflower star. I did an entire video on this. If you want to learn more, please check that out. Anyway, this weekend I will be guiding freedive, spearfishing, and specifically focusing on freediving for sea urchin on the Mendocino coast. So if you'd like to join that, see these urchin barrens for yourself and hopefully get a fish and bring back some delicious sea urchin, check out the website catchandcookcalifornia.com, look under open classes, and you'll find your registration and details. Now let's get back to seaweed foraging where it is sustainable, south of San Francisco. All right, I'm keeping one eye on the water. Very, very calm day today, but that's exactly when you let your guard down. And that's exactly when we have problems. This one right here is one of my all-time favorite seaweeds. This is Aurelia, the ribbon kelp, with that central rib that goes right down the middle. Also known as winged kelp, cousin to wakame. This is one of my favorites for seaweed salad. So this is the reproductive organ right here, little wings that are coming off the side. And so you want to make sure that when you harvest this species that you cut it up here well above those wings. We'll make a cut right here. You can really see that pronounced rib there, that central rib. That's very distinct of Aurelia. Look how long this is too. Crazy. We have absolutely plenty in this one blade right here to make multiple salads. I'm going to harvest a few more because this grows very, very quickly. So for a few months we have access to it and then it dies back. It grows in like a month to 2 months to this length. This is probably 6 feet long. We'll cut it up here. That way you have at least this much remaining. All the reproductive organ is still attached to the rock and that will continue to grow. Here has almost like the palm of a hand and a bunch of fingers. This is kombu. We're only going to harvest the fingers here. Very, very important that we don't cut the stipe down here. Taking one here, one there. That way we're not taking all from one piece of seaweed, and that way it can still photosynthesize and survive. Now that's plenty from my dashi, my soup stock. Put that away before you go walking around out here. The likelihood of falling is very, very high. You don't want a knife in your hand when you do it. And remember, when it comes to foraging anything in the intertidal zone, even seaweed, if you're in Northern California or the Bay Area, you need to have a fishing license. If you're in Southern California, you need to have a fishing license and an ocean enhancement validation. If you don't have that validation, it's like fishing without a license. Finally, you got to remember that not all places allow for seaweed foraging. You may be in a spot that's not in a marine protected area, but could be a state marine conservation area, the SMCAs. Most SMCAs, it is legal to take finfish, for instance, but totally illegal to take any other resource, which could include seaweed. So make sure you check the California Department of Fish and Wildlife Fishing Regulations map, zoom in onto the area that you're thinking about going, and make sure it's not part of a marine protected area or a state marine conservation area. before you go foraging. It's like a 25-inch monkey face eel on a high-low rig. It's a beautiful shore fishing catch. Lots of good meat. Very tip of the tail's right on the edge of the board there. So I'm gonna measure from the edge of the board all the way down. That's 28 right there. Dude, that's as close to 29 as possible. But let's say I close the mouth. Yeah, we're gonna call it 28 3/4. Man, that is awesome. That then makes that my personal best, biggest monkey face eel ever. And it also makes me wish I had measured it. I don't know if it would have gone 7 pounds. That's the world record, but I'm gonna start measuring the big ones. Let's fillet it, let's make something delicious. So if you've been watching this channel for a while, or if you've come out on my guided rocky intertidal forays, you've probably seen me fillet an eel or two. But for those of you who are new, basically I just run the filleting knife down the dorsal fin, which connects to the tail fin, and just work my way right along flat to the bones until I reach the spine. Once I've reached the spine, I can either go over the spine and continue on the other side, or I can come in from the belly of the fish. Once I've finished that cut, I just sever at the collar, sever at the tail, and I've got a nice long boneless fillet. I'm telling you, not a day goes by that I am not appreciative of where I live. I'm just watching whales all around me right now. Very happy to be here, and I'm happy you get to join me today. Hopefully you get to join me in person. Come on out on a guided thing. Whoa, there's a whale right there. Look at that, that's a whale right there. Dude. Okay, let's do some cooking. So for cooking today, I have a fire maple stove. It's a grill that you kind of origami together. Real simple, very beautiful, sort of hibachi style. In most places in the state, during this time of year, I would never have a fire, but look around, there's no vegetation. This is one of the only safe places I can imagine having a fire this time of year. It's not very windy or anything, very controlled, so I'm comfortable. I'm gonna have a fire here. And remember, it's illegal to have a fire on most beaches. I just happen to know the landowner, so I have access here, so we're legit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small section of this eel. That's the part that I'm going to grill today. The rest of it will go in the freezer for later. Now these fire maple stoves are actually really cool, very user-friendly, easy to throw together. And if you need it, there's even instructions on how to set it up sewn into the inside of the bag that it comes in. So I started by loading this stove from the top and getting a fire going, and as it starts to burn down into a bed of coals, I'm batoning other wood and just adding it in. Now once I add the grill to the top of it, I can actually put my pot on here, and this is also made by Fire Maple, a great stainless steel pot. I love the fact that it's got a handle, a bail, and a spout. I'm throwing in my kombu kelp, and I'm throwing in my eel carcass, and this pot is handy. It's got these snaps on the lid that keeps the lid down so that it simmers more easily. Really cool thing about this stove is you can then feed new wood from the side, so you don't have to lift the grill every time you want to add to it. I'm popping these little snaps off the lid, checking the boil, and now I'm adding in my ribbon kelp. Now watch this. As soon as I add it in, I'm going to grab it and pull it back out, and that heat instantly transforms it into an emerald green color, that very distinct color of kombu when you buy a seaweed salad in the store. I'm adding in my bok choy, putting the lid back on, snapping it down to simmer again. Every once in a while I'll pop it back open and add a little bit more. So here I'm adding soy sauce. Now I'm going to remove my ribbon kelp, set it aside. I'm going to remove the carcass, and I'm going to strip some of the meat off of those bones, and I'm going to add in some of my udon noodles. I'm going to get that fire blazing back up again and throw on my eel. And now I'm switching over to seaweed salad. I want to slice out the central rib of the ribbon kelp, and I'm going to roll up both sides of these blades and very finely slice in a fashion we refer to as chiffoning. I'm going to chiffon both edges of the blade of that kelp, and then I'm going to very, very thinly slice the central rib for that nice, crunchy, characteristic seaweed salad texture. Now the sauce for this is about as simple as it gets. A little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of rice vinegar, a little bit of sesame oil, some sesame seeds. Obviously I've sliced a cherry tomato and grated a little bit of carrot in there, and all I'm going to do is just stir it around till we're ready to plate. I swear, that is how it always goes. Thought I gave myself plenty of time, and I'm still racing the sun. The sun's about to go down in about a half an hour, but my meal is ready. Some noodles, bok choy. I'm gonna put that eel head right in the middle of it. Boom. Cooked up white. That's crazy. And we're gonna get a bunch of this broth. That nice kombu in there. Look at the color of this broth. Yep, that is eel head and wild seaweed soup with some grilled eel and wild seaweed salad. Delicate, beautiful little wakame seaweed salad. This is a recipe I've been working on quite a bit lately. Get a little bit of carrot. Dude. The texture on this is amazing. It's got a really nice little crunch, but it's very tender and carries all those flavors just so nice with it. Super nutritious as well. Eel soup. Kind of a cool old spoon. I carved this a long time ago from Osage orange wood. Did some abalone inlay. If you'd like to learn some bushcraft, survival skills, woodworking and stuff, let me know. I'd be more than happy to do some classes on that as well. Whoa! I love it, having the big old eel head right there in the bowl. Dude, that's so good. That's so good. Whoa. Hang on, more broth. Oh my gosh, okay. It's the fish is there, but it's not fishy. It's nice, subtle, very clean fish flavor. It's got a little bit of a barbecue thing, I think, because I threw this chunk of barbecued, sort of teriyaki style eel in there. Hang on, I'm gonna give this a bite. I know not everybody is going to be into the skin like I am. It's sort of like, you know what, it kind of has a slow cooked beef tendon kind of texture going on. So if you're into like beef tendon in you know, Vietnamese, Chinese soup, that kind of thing, I think you would actually really dig this texture. The flavor, that sauce and the wood smoke, this is fantastic. That's really good. Some noodles. Dude, very subtle, very beautiful blend of flavors here. Everything married together really nicely. Some of that seaweed, wakame. That seaweed is exceptional. Texture, flavor, everything. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. If you want to get out for seaweed, we have a very limited amount of time to do this. So if you want to come out on a guided intertidal foray during seaweed season, hit me up ASAP. All that stuff's going to be on my website, catchandcookcalifornia.com, under open classes. Man, the green onion, everything. It's just so good. Bok choy. Not even kidding. There's a whale, just came completely up out of the water and then back down. I keep telling my boss, you gotta get me a better office. The view here is horrible. But maybe not, I am my own boss. You gotta get a chunk off the eel head itself. I like that too. It's got something else going on. Hang on, let me look at how easily that falls apart. I'm just gonna take a bite off of this where I can see there's no bones. You know what it kind of reminds me of is like slow cooked pork. The skin on here is kind of like the fat on a rib when it kind of comes off. I'm not kidding, there's nothing about this I don't like. I'm gonna polish this whole thing off, and I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully this gives you some ideas of things you can do beyond just grilling the eel or beyond frying an eel. One last thing, eels. There is no commercial harvest for monkey-faced prickleback in California. That makes it a very sustainable fishery as long as we keep our spots quiet and we don't put too much pressure on them. The other thing is, because they are predominantly vegetarian, they're predominantly eating seaweed, that means that they're very low trophic feeders, meaning they don't have very much mercury, PCBs, selenium, any of the bad stuff that you can get in certain fish, namely predatory fish. So what that means is that when you boil down the skeleton on a fish like this, it's very unlikely that you're gonna get a lot of that nasty stuff like mercury into your soup. Whereas in contrast, I wouldn't recommend using the carcass of a striped bass for this dish because there's a lot more mercury right around the skeleton. So this is a very good fish to do a dish like this with. And I gotta be honest, I'm loving it. I'm loving the skin, I'm loving everything. I'm gonna polish this off. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you come out and join me. And until next time, keep the old ways alive.